Welcome back to For the Truth podcast. I'm your host, Josh Keene. This is not Hawaiian Ryan Swedberg.
True.
Yeah.
There was rumors I was going to pull out the Hawaiian shirt for today's episode, but that has not happened.
Extremely thankful we're not doing flowers today.
Oh, it will happen at some point.
It
will absolutely happen.
Like I said, this is For the Truth. We have not recorded in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Last time we recorded, we were in Ryan's office. We're
back. We record an episode each week.
So, every day we get down and we push and we record, and we definitely don't space them out for our schedules.
It's just funny that sometimes I'm wearing the same shirt on the same day in multiple weeks.
Yeah,
it's very strange.
So strange. Anyways, I don't know where I was going with that. We're back in my house. We're not in your office.
Yep. Your house for not much longer.
Not much longer. The house is sold, so if you prayed for that, thank you. It's 9:20 p.m., so if we're not coherent at any point, blame it on that. But I wanted to start off. Right now we're in. We just did the rapture.
Yep.
We've been working through the beginnings of eschatology. So we did the rapture. Chronologically, we moved into the tribulation.
Yep.
I believe we did one episode on the tribulation so far.
We're dialed in.
Dialed in.
Yes.
I am the avid listener.
Yes.
I mean, I can't remember anything we say, so I listen to all of it. I wanted to talk about a little bit of current event stuff that's going on.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Have you heard of the red heifer?
Yes, in like the Old Testament.
Yes.
But I couldn't define it or tell you anything more about that, other than I know it's been written on. I think there's an article, was it by Doug Bookman, either Doug Bookman or Will Varner, The Curious Case of the Red Heifer, or something like that.
So currently, I'll start with this. The red heifer symbolizes the beginning of the building of the third temple, right?
Okay.
That's what it says in Revelation. We need to check myself.
I mean,
maybe.
When you say, are you familiar with it? I've heard of it.
Okay.
Could I get you the text?
No,
I think it's Old Testament.
I'm not expecting you to give me the text.
I think it's Old Testament, actually.
So
not New
let me
Testament.
read you this article.
Okay.
Do you know who the Temple Institute is?
Yes, I do.
So the Temple Institute.
I've seen videos produced by them in Israel.
Yes.
The children are ready.
Yes.
That was the tagline.
Yes.
The children are ready. We were all slightly creeped out by it, but it's also helpful that they're ready to build.
Yeah. They're ready.
Yeah.
They're ready to build. So citing Numbers 19:2,
That's it, Numbers.
A red heifer without defect in which there's no blemish, on which a yoke has never come.
Mm-hmm.
Currently in Israel, they just slaughtered a red heifer. Outside of Israel, people are freaking out because they think that it's the dawning of the Messianic kingdom and the building of the third temple has commenced, triggering the end times. This is active. Like July 1st, they did this, 2025.
Okay.
They found 2 black hairs on the heifer, which it makes it null and void. So they had identified 5 cows. A guy from Texas. Let me find his name. Where is his name? There's this dude from Texas who's a pastor.
Okay.
Why can I not find his name? He said he took it on himself as a Texan to go find a here we go. Evangelical Christian and Texas rancher Byron Stinson. I don't know if he's a pastor, actually. Successful businessman. There you go. Passionate about connecting the nations of Israel. For years, he has been on the hunt for a flawless red heifer. And he said, felt like it was my duty to go look around, blah, blah, blah. In 2000 and, where is it at? In December 2021, a team of rabbis flew from Jerusalem to inspect his candidates. 5 young cows were selected. And in September of 2022, he flew them to Israel, and they were kept outside. They're dedicated to the Holy Temple. I'm trying to summarize here.
Mm-hmm.
Along with creating more than 60 sacred, the temple to institute right now is dedicated to rebuilding the Holy Temple on Mount Moriah, along with creating more than 60 sacred temple vessels, priestly vestments, and more. The organization has studied and trained to perform every detail of the temple rituals. One critical detail: none of it is possible without the purification, the ritual of the red heifer.
What text do you know what text they're drawing that from? Why because
that I don't know.
Okay.
All I know is that it's Numbers 19:2. It's Old Testament.
Yep.
And that everybody is worried that the end times are going to start right now because of this. So we, probably should have looked that up before of what they're referencing in the end times of the red heifer. I'm sure if I went on Bible.com,
probably for the Jewish people, the expectation of the Messiah.
Yes.
Right. Right. I mean, as you're explaining all of that, and by the way, this is the first I knew that this is the direction we were going. So, I see Numbers 19, and it's very much written as a command for this is the people of Israel, past tense. This is what they are to do. Tell the people to bring you a red heifer without defect. My question, I guess, to those who are saying this is signifying something in the future, or that the future is imminent, the end times are imminent, is where are they getting that from Numbers 19? Is there something messianic about this red heifer? And that's, again, I would have to have studied this a little bit more freshly to know or have a commentary on that. Is there any other places
That's what I'm
in
looking right
Scripture
now,
where
yeah.
this red heifer appears? And while you're looking, I mean, the Temple Institute is interesting. So when I was living in Israel for a few months, and this would have been almost 10 years ago now, this group is dedicated to bringing the temple back where it was. Obviously, you have the Dome of the Rock right now on top of the Temple Mount, which is not the temple, obviously a sacred spot for the Muslim faith. And so they were even close to a decade ago now preparing for vessels, and for as much as they could prepare without actually having the land and the ability to do it, they were preparing to build the temple. So the third temple is very much in the Jewish consciousness. People want to do it. And as we talked about last time in the tribulation, there has to be a temple, Daniel chapter 9, verses 24 to 27. How can the Antichrist defile the temple? How can he put an end to sacrifice and offering if there's not a temple?
Correct. And I think that is the tie-in.
Right.
Because they can't build the temple without the red heifer.
Okay.
The purification process for the beginnings of building the temple, I think, is written in Numbers, and that's what they're referring to.
Okay.
And the purification process begins with the mixing of the blood of the red heifer and ashes and taking it in and using that as a pure substance to start the beginning building of the temple. I think that's what the reference is.
Okay, maybe.
So in order for them to build the temple, they have to, it says, third temple refers to a hypothetical rebuilt temple in Jerusalem, envisioned to succeed the first and second temples. Okay, obviously. Thanks,
Right.
Google.
Yep.
It's a concept deeply rooted in Jewish tradition, particularly within Orthodox Judaism, and also holds its significance in some Christian eschatological views. Yeah, so I mean, it's exactly what you're saying. Without the third temple, some of the end time stuff cannot be enacted.
Right.
And this is what people are deeming as the beginning of it.
Interesting.
Because these people are so dedicated to doing it, they've actually identified a cow, heifer, and they're...
What is the difference between a cow and a heifer?
Yeah, I don't know.
I should know this.
I think a heifer is I think it's gender.
Is it gender?
I think so.
Heifer
Versus cow. If you don't learn anything else today.
Right.
A heifer is a young female cow that has not yet given birth to a calf also, which is they can't have a yoke, right?
Okay, right, yep, couldn't have it, yep.
And they can't have ever been carried anything or
Okay.
been carried. They haven't never been ridden or carried anything. That's part of the identification of red heifer.
Okay.
Once a heifer gives birth to her first calf, then she is called a cow. We should have just called Friesen. He would have known that.
Yeah.
Especially,
that's fascinating.
Essentially, a heifer is a female calf that is still maturing.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a virgin cow.
Yep.
There we go. Learn something new every day.
Yeah. So this ritual is
it
first
wouldn't
found.
be gender. That would be a bull.
Well,
right?
Yeah, but that's the male gender. I'm just saying it
Right,
was
so-
one of the genders.
Well, but heifer and cow is the same gender.
Correct.
So it's not.
But cow can also be a male cow if you don't call it a bull. You just call it a cow.
Wait, no, we can't.
Okay, now let's Google cow versus bull.
What is going on?
Cow versus bull. Cows and bulls are both types of cattle, but they differ in sex and physical characteristics.
See, there you go. I told
There you go.
I told you.
Okay, so all heifers are cows, but not all cows are bulls.
Right.
There you
Exactly.
go.
There it is.
They really learned something.
Yep.
Priests take it outside the camp, slaughter and burn it, and mix the ashes with water, creating a solution for use in a purification ceremony. The ritual removes impurity contracted through contact with death, a prerequisite to performing any ceremonies in or even entering the holy temple. To carry out the ceremony, you need a Levitically pure priest who is cleansed by the ashes of the previous red heifer. So you have to have two red heifers.
Okay.
The only way to...
And this is from what source?
Messiah.com.
Yeah, we are off.
We are
the
off
rails
the rails,
today.
baby. Practice ritual.
I should have worn my Hawaiian
On
shirt.
July 1, you should have worn the Hawaiian shirt. On July 1, Stinson, in coordination with the Temple Institute, arranged for what he said it was practiced with a disqualified heifer. So because they found those two hairs, they disqualified it and they did a dry run. You know, they killed the heifer anyways, which is where it's kind of like there's literally a picture. If anybody cares,
Yeah, there it
Google
is.
it. but there's a picture of the
all
heifer
right.
laying on some 1x6s, which I don't know if that's
Doesn't
in the
sound
Old
safe.
Testament, but
All right. So can I try and provide a little theological?
the red heifer people, they fooled everybody and successfully performed the rituals. So if you read through the whole article, it gets less and less. And, the point being, go ahead with your whichever you're going to say.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, this reminds me. So even today, right, we recognize as Christians, we have a great high priest who can sympathize with our weaknesses, but who is also one who was not just the great high priest, but sacrificed for us, the offering for sin once for all, sat down at the right hand of the Majesty on high. So for us, as we look at whatever the Jewish people do, trying to bring about their Messiah, trying to bring about this third temple, whatever sort of, whether it's biblical or in some cases even man-made ceremonies, regulations tethered to biblical reality, ultimately, God is going to do what God is going to do to bring about the desired end, the biblical end. And so it's interesting to me that even as Jewish people are trying to bring back this third temple, hasten in the Messiah, God is bringing back the Messiah. It's a different one than what they're looking for, though, right? So it's the same type of thing that happened 2,000 years ago when Jesus was on earth. People were looking for someone who would reign and who would rule, not someone who would die. And as they look for this Messiah, like Zechariah tells us, they'll eventually look on him whom they've pierced, and God is going to save Israel. So it's fascinating that this is happening. But at the same time, too, we can't control. People don't control when the Lord comes back. The Lord's going to come back at his appointed time, right? That he has fixed, this time that no one knows. No one knows the day or the hour. So I think it's interesting to speculate. And certainly there's things that have to happen in Israel. Even the reconstitution of Israel as a nation in 1948, right? So that is not without eschatological significance. It is significant. But simultaneously, yes, Balfour and the Balfour Declaration and the return of Israelites back to the land of Palestine, all that stuff, the Jewish people back to Palestine, all of that is, yes, a piece of God outworking human history, yet simultaneously we can trust and know God is going to do things on his appointed time, not man's. So that's I don't know if that's clear or not, but it's fascinating, yet simultaneously I wouldn't get too caught up in it, right? Because you never know for sure.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's the world interacting with Scripture, you know?
Yes.
Whether or not it's the correct view of Scripture or not.
Right.
At the least, this has gotten people talking and studying the Scripture.
Yep.
To an extent, you
Right.
know?
Well, do we want to go, should we talk millennial day theory here for a second?
Well, there's that, but there's also, I don't know if we've talked about like Israel as a nation being restored.
Not really.
At all.
No.
You know, which is definitely a part of the end times. It's a part of the end times. It's also a part of how you view the end times and the promises within scriptures that we read.
Right.
And I was listening to something on some podcast. I don't even know who it was. It was a clip of a podcast I was listening to, and he was using the parable in Matthew where he sends servants, they beat the servants, they kill him. He sends more servants, beats servants, kill him. He sends his son.
Yep.
Says they will treat him differently, and then it says the stone that you rejected becomes a cornerstone.
Yep.
He used that as a reason why there's no plans for Israel in the future, because it's Jesus specifically saying, you are going to reject me, the cornerstone. It's going to be given to the Gentiles, the people who have loved me.
Right.
But there's just things like that. I feel like there's people talking about it all over the place right now. Like Israel is a very huge,
massive.
It's a massive point of contention right now with the Gaza Strip and the attack that happened. What was that? A year? Is that a year ago now?
October 9th, 23. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
And then obviously Israel bombing.
Maybe October 7th, but yeah.
It was October 7th. Yeah. And then obviously Israel bombing, was it Iraq like a couple months ago? Iran.
Yep,
They're
close.
They're the same. I mean, it's one letter.
One's Persia, one's Babylon.
Yes. Those are two different names.
Right.
Iraq and Iran, can we get a little more original?
That's very true. Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
But yeah, Israel is just a very much, obviously, is a center point for...
Well, it's the center point of the world, literally.
Yeah. And when we talk New Jerusalem or new, that's Israel.
Right.
That's going to be right there.
Right.
It's where we're going to live, which is going to be awesome. I want to go to Israel, and it's going to be fun it's going to be amazing to see the new and better Jerusalem, or new and better. What was it? Why does that sound wrong? Adam. That's what I was thinking. That's not even the right thing.
No.
Jesus is the new and better Adam.
Right.
Anyways.
But who will be the center point of the New Jerusalem? So
Yeah.
You got me nervous with your computer. Are we recording?
We are
recording. We are live.
Yeah, we're
good.
live.
Okay, good.
We're recording.
Good. I was like,
had
man,
my
this is a
computer-
great discussion.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
No,
wait a second.
We
'Cause
have
I always-
PTSD, baby.
I know. This is not. Yeah. I
Yeah.
always look at the waves, the
Yeah.
audio waves. I can't see
Yeah.
them, so I'm not.
No, we're recording.
Not assured.
I have my
of our
computer out
recording.
because every time we go to record something and I want to read off of the internets,
Yeah.
my phone's over there, so we can't.
Yeah. True.
We can't.
Very
So
true.
now I was like, oh, let me be smarter here. But
Yeah.
let's go ahead and get towards. Let me see. Where are we working on time now?
Well,
We're
yeah.
already at 20 minutes.
Well, should we just talk millennial day theory since
do
we're
it.
kind
Yeah.
of in the
That's in it. Let's go.
we're in kind of an excursus episode right now anyway,
Yeah.
so we can get
Yeah.
back to the tribulation. So this is something interesting that is purely. I'm not going to say it's not biblical because if it wasn't, why would we be talking about it? But it's more of an inference from Scripture, less of a declarative reality. So
Mhm.
basically, the theory is, and this is held by many Christians throughout generations, is that when you look at the pattern of creation, right, 6 days and then a seventh day, when what happened on the seventh day, God rested. That there's a theory that human history mirrors the creation week.
Mhm.
So when you talk about the millennium, which we'll get to in the future episodes, this
What is
one,
the name of the theory?
it's like the millennial day theory or millennial age theory, millennial Sabbath theory, something like that. Different ways you could understand it, but basically that human history is going to be a 7,000 year period of time. The first 6,000 years of that period would
BC.
be, huh?
Go ahead.
Yeah,
BC.
the first 6,000 years of that period would be sin and suffering and death. The last 1,000 years would be a Sabbath rest, where God rules and reigns over His people for a millennium.
Interesting.
So if you do the math on that,
Mhm.
right? So you've got 2,000.
September.
No. You've got 2,000 years from, roughly speaking, from the time of Adam to Abraham. You've got 2,000 years, roughly speaking, from Abraham to Christ, and then you would have 2,000 years from Christ to the beginning of the millennium. The return of Christ, the beginning of the millennium, again, roughly speaking. So if that's true, and again, you can't point to a specific passage. Some people look at Peter, where Peter says, with the Lord, 1 day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as 1 day for support. But it is a biblical pattern where 6 is the number of man, 666. 6 is the number of incompletion. 6 is the number of failure, all of those things. It's 7, the number of perfection, the number of completion, and that is universally acknowledged in Scripture. So it's an interesting thing to consider. I would not die on that hill by any stretch, but when you do the math on that, you realize very quickly, wait a second, we're getting very close to 6,000 years. Some people even say we're over 6,000 years. It depends on how you do the chronology in the Old Testament, but I think you can make a case that we're still under 6,000 years. And when you think back to, well, Jesus died in 33 AD, what's 2,000 years from 33 AD, 2033, right? And so, and if the rapture is 7 years before, roughly, Jesus' return, well, that's 2026, right? So you can do all the math on that, and you could say, man,
where's the first 4,000 coming from, though? How many years are we saying was in BC?
Right, 4,000, right?
4,000.
So 2,000 from Christ to
That's
Abraham.
the general consensus for 4,000.
That's the general consensus. I mean, you would see like 4,004 BC is sometimes noted as the number. It's some theologians would place the Earth's age a little over 6,000 years. Some would place it a little under. It's tough to get, looking at the biblical chronology, precision.
I just typed into Google how many years are believed in BC. What do you think it said?
Oh, goodness.
There is an infinite number of years believed to be in the BC era. Baloney.
Baloney.
As years before Christ are counted. At least it said Christ.
Yeah.
As years before Christ are counted backward from, thank you, from 1 BC. Google's really doing a great job tonight, by the way. This AI overview that all of you trust. I've had business relations where people cite AI overview when they Google like how to fix something. I'm like, you can't just read the AI overview. You gotta actually know what you're talking about.
I was actually using ChatGPT for some research yesterday, and it gave me a great theological position from a 2003 John Piper sermon. I was like, wow, that's really helpful to hear how John thinks. And then I was like, show me the source. Oh, and then, actually, sorry, it's not a source. He never preached it. He preached a different sermon a different year.
Yikes.
And he didn't actually say what we said he said.
Holy
so
cow.
it was crazy. Yeah, I'll have to show you that. So
that is interesting because everyone the big thing about ChatGPT is that it can imitate people.
Mhm.
It can study who you are and imitate you as what you
Right.
would have said.
Right.
So I wonder if it was doing that and
I
just
don't know.
faking you out and presenting false.
It was crazy.
That is crazy.
It was super crazy. But
Yeah.
so anyways, the millennial day theory,
It's very
it's
interesting.
interesting to consider.
It
And I
is
think that's where you
interesting.
have to leave it.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like you said, we're not, the purpose of studying eschatology is not to figure it out.
Right.
The exact timing. Obviously we want to study and understand the scriptures. And I think there's reason to study and understand eschatology of what's going to happen and our interpretation of, even when you think about the seals, the scrolls, the cherubims, the beasts, all these things are like, we know it's going to be real, we know it's going to happen, but like picturing it, like how do you quote unquote figure it out? Like, there's a certain level of like kind of leave it where it's at type of thing. And like the cherubims described, like we can draw a picture of that. If you chat GPT that'll give you it'll give you something. But yeah, this theory is interesting. 6,000 years and 1,000 years of rest. Like it would make, I could get behind that.
right.
6 days of
that's why
creation
Christians
and a
have
day of
been
rest.
historically,
Yeah.
because it fits the biblical flow.
Yeah.
The problem is with it of holding it dogmatically. Scripture doesn't explicitly teach it, and there's a lot of things Scripture does teach. And like Paul tells the Corinthians, you don't want to exceed what is written. And so that's why it has to stay in the realm of this is God could do things this way. If he did, it would make sense. There's tangential biblical support for it, but there's not explicit biblical support for it. So,
yeah. Also, this article,
Francis Chan, by the way, Francis Chan has an interesting video,
Letters to the Church,
where he talks about this too.
Do you like Francis Chan?
It's a whole other can of worms. I think he's
I think he's a great pastor.
Yeah.
In his day.
And I think he's done a lot of good for the Lord. I think there's been some theological compromises he's made here and there that have caused people to maybe lose some trust in him theologically on some things. But that being said, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right?
Yeah. I think one thing that Francis Chan did well, his book Letters to the Church, which I believe is behind me somewhere, he recognized that his church was becoming too dependent on him, and then he basically stepped away completely and forced them to figure it out, and then went and planted other churches, which is interesting with like Grace and John MacArthur recently passing and everything that's going on there. And just how do you create a church that's not solely dependent on the head pastor or even a couple of elders or like people studying and learning the scriptures and loving the scriptures independently, obviously in groups still too, but like as a soul, like I love the scriptures, I love being taught, I love my church, I serve the church. It's not built by one person. It's just an interesting concept, and we're obviously way away from tribulation at this point. But yeah, it's an interesting. It's interesting.
This can be the Excursus episode.
Excursus. Define Excursus.
Like an aside that is tangentially related to the main thought. So, like when I'm teaching my institute classes, I've got here's where I'm going, and then I'll have an excursus on this topic that's related. It's interesting, but not really in the main flow of conversation.
A detailed discussion on a particular point in a book, usually in an appendix.
That's how they define it?
That's how they define it.
Who's they here?
This is dictionary.com.
Yeah, look up, there's got to be a secondary meaning to it.
Secondary meaning, you're wrong. I'm just kidding.
Brutal.
It doesn't say it on the front.
Man, this is going to drive me crazy now if I on this podcast...
just define something wrong. Well, I'm just on let's go to Merriam-Webster Excursus definition.
There's got to be a secondary.
An appendix or digression that contains further exposition of a point or topic.
Yeah,
that's
digression.
fine. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
I was like, man,
that would have been bad. We'd have to shut it down.
Well, that would have been then a year's worth of different class notes having to go back to people and say, hey, I called this excursus. It's not an excursus. We're actually a tangent or something.
Yeah. Anyways, keep your eye on the public eye. There's some red heifers flying around.
Okay.
I did have this question. We can finish with this.
Sure.
Matthew 28:19. Let me get there.
Wow. Great commission. We are all over the place today.
Oh wait, I think I meant Matthew 19:28.
It's like that does not relate at all.
Well, this doesn't relate at all.
Okay.
It does nothing to relate. I just want to see what your thoughts of this are. The request of the mother.
Yeah, the dogs. The Gentiles lost the crumbs. Is that this?
The crumbs.
Is that
No,
this
this is where Jesus says there will be 12 thrones for you to sit on and judge the kingdom.
Yeah.
He's talking to the 12 disciples. in those 12 disciples is Judas.
Mm-hmm.
So is Jesus speaking literally saying and being wrong, not
Well, I can
accessing his...
safely say that Jesus is not wrong.
Correct. Yeah. Let's put me on record saying that. That's great.
Yeah.
Is like not accessing his omniscience and knowing that Judas would not be one of the 12. Is he subbing in Paul? Is he speaking like not literally, but more of like there will be 12. 11 of you might be on that 12. I'm backwardsing the references
right. No,
right
I
now.
see
Where
what
you
you're
at?
saying. You know, you who have followed me will also sit on 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. I think the simple answer would be that that's either, you know, Judas obviously was not a true disciple, so it's either Paul or who did they select in Acts 1 as the replacement? Matthias.
Oh yeah.
Matthias, right? In Acts 1. So I think that's the simple answer.
All right, so this is a natural break that we are inserting unnaturally into this video. We ended up going quite long. Typically, we like to record in 30-minute segments, but this conversation kept going, and we didn't want to cut it off. So we're making this little clip. We're going to pause this episode and give you a break from our beautiful voices until next week when the next episode comes out. Make sure you check that out to finish the actually very riveting, fun conversation that we had.
Goes a lot of different ways.
I actually don't even know where this episode's going to end currently when we're talking, but I will later. And that is what we talked about, kind of. Time. Little teaser for you, baby.
There we go.
We'll catch you on the next one.